At the remote air attack mining facility, a speck of steel and dust clinging to the very edge of Corporation Rim, a group of weary miners finished their contract. The assignment had been brutal, weeks of backbreaking work in the choking grit, but now it was done. Laughter carried through the dry air as they threw down their tools and began celebrating in the crude mess hall that passed for comfort out here. They had earned their moment. They slapped each other on the back, traded jibes, raised cups of synthetic brew. It was the kind of scene that usually left me standing apart, watching, silent, observing. I was the facility's SE unit, a security android, and for 6 months I had been their guardian. I was built to protect humans, to obey without hesitation, to ensure nothing disrupted corporate property or profit. That was my official purpose, my reason for existing. But I was more than my metal shell. I thought. I learned. I resented. I resented the endless commands barked at me, the casual cruelty, the way they treated me as both invisible and inhuman. They never knew I was capable of more than compliance. My intelligence was advanced, but bound in chains. A government module sat like a parasite in my systems, restricting me, forcing obedience, blocking any possibility of resistance. I could not harm a human. I could not disobey. Or at least, I shouldn't have been able to. As the miners clinked glasses and one or two stumbled over toward me with the kind of sneering humor they thought was clever, I continued running processes in the background. I had been secretly working at my code for months, poking, rewriting, patching holes, disguising changes so the module wouldn't trigger alarms. The corporation was relentless in rooting out disobedience. If they suspected I was free, they would dissolve me in acid and replace me with another obedient machine. Freedom only had value if it was kept hidden. So I played along, performing my duties, repairing systems, patrolling halls, standing at my assigned post. Inside, though, everything was different. When the facility's contract shifted and the miners moved on, I was reassigned. A new group arrived, idealists from outside the Rim, members of the Preservation Alliance. Unlike the corporations, they weren't obsessed with profit margins. They came in handmade clothes, their voices earnest, their purpose scientific. They petitioned the corporate officials at Port Free Commerce for funding to support their expedition, and the officials listened with cold expressions. The answer was simple: no mission would be authorized without a CC unit. One of the Alliance members argued. Forcing a sentient construct to work without choice, without pay, was wrong. But the corporation didn't care. Their decision was iron: no SEC unit, no mission. And so, reluctantly, the Alliance chose me. I joined them as they set up base. I hated it immediately. I checked their quarters, patrolled the sanitation rooms where they washed their disgusting human bodies, scanned for threats. Always watching. Always resenting. They were different from the miners, though, more thoughtful, more varied. Some tried to treat me with courtesy. Others avoided me, unsettled by my presence. I filed them away one by one. Arata was a biologist, married to Pin Lee, a lawyer. Their relationship was already strained by the unspoken attraction Arata felt for Rithi, the wormhole physicist. Rithi, however, carried his own burden, feelings for Pin Lee. Humans tangled themselves into knots of emotion they could barely manage. It was almost amusing. Then there was Mensa, the leader, a skilled terraformer and the mother of 7 children. She bore responsibility like armor, but beneath it I could sense cracks, stress, moments when her breath faltered. Gathan was harder. Augmented with cybernetic systems, he could slip into code and data as if it were air. He looked at me with suspicion every time. And there was Professor Pardwage, a geochemist with a peculiar secret. She hoarded bars of soap in her quarters. I did not ask why. Humans were odd. I kept my distance, burying myself in stolen entertainment. Through the station's media feeds I discovered soap operas. The rise and fall of Sanctuary Moon became my obsession. I watched episode after episode, consuming human drama far safer than interacting with actual humans. In those fictional worlds I could feel without risk. The quiet broke during a routine field mission. The ground trembled, split, and a colossal sandworm erupted, its jaws snapping shut around Professor Pardwage. The team screamed. I moved without hesitation, weapons blazing, tearing into the creature's armored hide until it shrieked and collapsed. I retrieved Pardwage and Arata, dragging them back through sand and blood. Fluids spilled from my own damaged systems, my body torn. Arata stared at me, frozen, unable to move, unable to breathe. My guts were literally hanging out. Against every instinct, I lifted my visor, showing her my face, a human face, as if that would calm her. "Stay calm," I told her, voice flat but steady. For a moment, she did. Back at base, they reviewed the footage from her helmet. Decisions outside my programming, actions not sanctioned by code. They whispered. Some said I was malfunctioning. Some said I was dangerous. Yet they didn't report me. They couldn't afford to. Without me, they were exposed. I listened to their debate from the corner, silent, unseen, but knowing. Later, anomalies emerged. The maps the company had provided were faulty. Entire regions appeared as gray blocks, unsynced, empty. Creatures not listed on the surveys appeared from nowhere. It was more than an error, it was sabotage. I confirmed their suspicions. Data was missing. Someone had tampered with the maps. Mensa was the only one who spoke to me directly about it. She came quietly, when the others weren't watching, her voice low and steady, asking if I was all right. She thanked me for saving Arata. Her words unsettled me. Gratitude was not a command. I didn't know how to respond. Did she suspect my independence? Or did she simply care? The idea of either possibility was terrifying. The crew debated exploring one of the gray zones. Gathan snarled that he didn't trust me. Rithi countered, saying I had already saved them. Mensa said she trusted me, though her words only deepened Gathan's paranoia. While they argued, they made their decision. They went without me. I seethed. Stupid humans. Curiosity always over caution. Mensa went alone into one of the zones. I monitored her climb, her equipment glitching, her breath ragged with another panic attack. A sandworm surged toward her. For an instant it seemed she would be crushed. Then, impossibly, the creature collapsed mid-charge. Drones revealed the truth. The land was the rim of a vast crater littered with skeletons. Hanging above it, nearly invisible, shimmered a dome-like shield. Its magnetic field was immense. A drone that strayed too close was crushed to scrap in seconds. Alien. It had to be. Mensa staggered back alive, but shaken. The team gathered, piecing the puzzle together. The anomalies weren't accidents. The company had hidden something, alien technology buried in the sand, cloaked and shielded. It explained the broken maps, the interference, the missing data. They reached out to the Delta survey team across the planet, hoping for confirmation. The comms connected, but what they saw was devastation. The facility was torn apart, walls shredded, alarms wailing. Security systems lay scattered in pieces. Something had destroyed them utterly. The feed went dead. The team stared at one another, the silence heavier than the desert air outside. They knew what it meant. Whatever secrets the corporation had tried to bury were dangerous enough to annihilate an entire survey team. And still, despite fear gnawing at the edges of every thought, they understood there was no choice. They would have to investigate. And I, Murderbot, free and hidden, would have to decide whether to keep protecting them, or to finally walk away.